Welcome to Gender Perspectives on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha, and I'm glad to have you join me today for another interesting conversation. So make sure to stay tuned to find out after this timeout.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Thanks for staying with us. This is still Gender Perspectives on Signature TV. Well, earlier I mentioned that we have an interesting topic today, and our conversation today is on feminism. We're looking at the evolution of feminism, its impact on society, and a lot more. Now, what is this evolution of feminism? Well, this refers to the historical development and changes within the feminist movements and ideologies over time. And this feminist thought has diversified, with various strands of feminism emerging, each with its own perspectives and goals. So let's hear all about this from the background report.
The pursuit of gender equality, a fundamental aspiration for human dignity, has manifested in a dynamic and multifaceted movement known as feminism. Its evolution, often conceptualized through the metaphor of waves, reveals a shifting landscape of concerns, strategies, and understandings of gendered power structures. The initial stirrings of what would become the first wave of feminism emerged from a backdrop of profound legal and social disenfranchisement. Beginning in the mid-19th century and extending into the early 20th, this era was primarily characterized by a fervent demand for formal equality. Inspired by Enlightenment ideas and fueled by the abolitionist movement, early feminists challenged the prevailing notions of women's intellectual inferiority and advocated for access to education and property rights. However, the central and unifying demand of this wave was the right to vote. The suffragette movements, employing tactics ranging from peaceful petitioning to more radical acts of civil disobedience, ultimately achieved significant victories in securing women's suffrage in various nations. Yet, the limitations of this initial surge were evident. Dominated largely by middle-class white women, the concerns and experiences of women of color and those from lower socioeconomic strata were often marginalized, highlighting an early challenge to the universality of feminist discourse. The second wave, cresting in the 1960s and 1970s, broadened the feminist agenda significantly. Emerging from the social and political upheavals of the era, this wave moved beyond legalistic demands to critique the deeply ingrained cultural and social structures that perpetuated gender inequality. The rally encapsulated the understanding that seemingly private experiences of sexism were often rooted in systemic patriarchal power. Issues such as equal pay, reproductive rights, domestic violence, and sexual harassment came to the forefront, challenging traditional gender roles in the workplace, family, and sexuality. Landmark legal victories and increased social awareness marked this period. The emergence of the third wave in the early 1990s marked a critical response to the perceived limitations and exclusions of its predecessor. Embracing the concept of intersectionality, articulated by scholars, third-wave feminists recognized that gender is not experienced in isolation but is intertwined with other aspects of identity, creating unique experiences of oppression and privilege. This wave challenged essentialist notions of womanhood, celebrating diversity and difference among women. Issues of sexuality, representation in media, and the ongoing struggle against gender-based violence were central concerns. Influenced by post-structuralist thought and the rise of queer theory, third-wave feminism embraced a more fluid and nuanced understanding of gender and identity. The current era, often referred to as the fourth wave, is characterized by the pervasive influence of internet technologies and social media. Beginning around 2012, this wave has witnessed a resurgence of feminist activism, fueled by online platforms that facilitate widespread mobilization and the sharing of personal narratives. Issues such as sexual harassment and assault, amplified by the #MeToo movement, rape culture, online misogyny, and body shaming have gained significant public attention. Intersectionality remains a central tenet, with a strong emphasis on the experiences of marginalized groups, including transgender individuals and those facing multiple forms of discrimination. The fourth wave is marked by its accessibility, its capacity for rapid mobilization, and its focus on everyday sexism and systemic inequalities. However, it also faces challenges related to online toxicity and the complexities of translating online activism into tangible political change. The evolution of feminism is a testament to the ongoing struggle for gender equality. From the foundational demands of the first wave to the intersectional and digitally driven activism of the fourth, each tide has built upon the legacies of the past while grappling with the specific social, political, and cultural context of its time. While the wave model provides a useful framework for understanding this evolution, it is crucial to acknowledge its limitations and recognize the diverse and often localized manifestations of feminist thought and action across the globe. The unfolding tide of feminism continues to adapt and evolve, driven by the enduring pursuit of a world where gender no longer dictates opportunity, experience, or what.
Very interesting report. Well, as we have heard, the first wave, often perceived as solely focused on suffrage, was in fact a broader movement seeking to dismantle the legal and social structures that relegated women to second-class citizenship, while the second challenged the patriarchal norms that permeated every aspect of women's life, from the workplace to the domestic sphere. The third wave, which came up in the 1990s, embraced the concept of intersectionality, acknowledging that gender is not a singular experience, but it is interwoven with other identities such as race, class, sexuality, and disability. And the fourth, which is propelled by the rise of digital technology and social media, has revolutionized feminist activism. And this wave has also witnessed a growing emphasis on inclusivity, recognizing the importance of affirming the experiences of trans women and non-binary individuals. Well, looking at this topic, feminism and its evolution, and everything about feminism, we have here in the studio Honorable Mrs. Chizoba Nnamdi Ezemago. She is the General Secretary, Women Supporting Women.
Community Network.
Yes, Community Network. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's actually my pleasure having you, and you're looking so lovely.
And you too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about feminism, right? First of all, what is your definition, or what is your opinion about feminism?
Okay, for me, feminism is just a belief that we tend to have, that both men and women should have equal rights, equal respect, and equal opportunity.
Okay. All right. So, many people have different ideas of what feminism should be or what feminism is. Now, from the beginning of the feminist movement, do you see any differences between how it is being seen as now compared to what the initial concept of feminism was before?
It's the same thing, both from the beginning, from the first wave,
Yeah.
where some women came out to say we need to start voting. That was the first wave of feminism.
Yeah.
At that time, women were, classified as second citizen, to the extent that you can't even cast a vote. So it was happening then, and some women came up and say, enough is enough. We need to be given the right to vote. Imagine if that was not done then, what would be our fate by now in our own generation? So feminism as at then still continues, because once we conquer this phase, we get up to another one, we conquer it. It's still the same movement. Women want to be identified as first as a human being and have equal rights with men. That's all what feminism is all about.
When you talk of equal rights with men, some people beg to differ. Some people will say men and women are not the same, and we're not equal. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, men and women, obviously we are not the same. In creation, we are not. Okay. But in role and both in creation, the God that created man and gave a man a woman is in his own intelligence knew that we both have to coexist. He didn't say, man, a woman is subdued under you. I put a woman below Actually, he said he's even beside you. So the same thing he gave a man, he also gave the woman. And in our own creation, he even made it more broader. So we are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. Just like in a family setting, you have when someone has given birth to his first son, the last cannot come and say, I am now challenging the firstborn. No. We are not saying we came before them or they should be given, we should have equal of everything they do. We're only asking they should recognize our existence. They should recognize the fact that we were not created out of a non-entity. We were created for a purpose, and that purpose must be fulfilled. Aside from what they have relegated it to, most men have in the time past and even now. So we're not there to, banter wars or say, I am more superior, I should come first, or say, we are all in it together. I've seen men that are even feminists. Yes, a lot of men have grown up, are awake already to this term of feminism.
Yes.
They're in support that, because why would they even be in support? Most men have daughters.
Yes.
They have wives, they have sisters. So because of this thing are being explained, there's a lot of awareness right now. They've come to that, realization that, oh, this thing is actually true. If it is being done in the past, my daughter will suffer for it later in her own generation. So all of us, we are here to make amends to what we don't know and to what we have to know right now.
Okay. And this feminism didn't just come up on its own. There are certain things that must have happened in the past that led to women wanting to wake up and start this movement. So can you just give us a couple of these things that led to this movement in the first place?
All right, the first one, like I said, is that inability to vote. For me, I don't know how I would have felt with those women back then. When it's time for election, you will be asked not to vote.
Yes.
It's like it could have happened like a couple of times for them to even come together and say enough is enough. Okay. And another time it happened was when in some families they will say women should not go to school, boys should go to school, with this notion that if I train a girl child, I'm training it for another man to enjoy later.
Yeah.
So that movement came up to stop that. Women and men, both boys and girls, should be given equal rights to go to school, to attain education. And if that movement didn't come up, then, I don't know where we would have been by now. Okay. So that movement also, came up. Another one that came up was in our working environment. When a man works, he gets a larger pay. When a woman works, because of that notion also, he gets a lower pay. And also in the working environment, they will say, they treat men better off than the way they treat women. Some people rise up to say it's not okay. We are all the same. In the sight of God, we are all the same. Okay. And the one that is happening right now is about, abuse, harassment. Our era is, we are using social media like what we are doing right now to, talk about it, to create more awareness that because I'm a woman doesn't give you the right to abuse me, and that I'm speaking up doesn't also give you the right to say I shouldn't talk, both in school, in a workplace, or even in the home. So that is, these different cases where women have risen up to say it is not fair. Because for me, feminism is about fairness, being fair to Peter on A and being fair to B.
Yes, it's all about
equity and fairness. Yes,
equity and fairness, that is true. Now let's bring it down to our Nigerian society or African. We are Africans.
Sure.
And the African mentality is a bit more, not totally as open to the feminist ideology the way the Western world is. So I would like to know what you think about the way, let's say Nigerians, let's bring it down to Nigeria. What you think about the way Nigerians perceive feminism, because most people think it's a fight, it's a war, or or maybe women now want to be unnecessarily difficult or stubborn, that kind of thing. So what do you think about the way Nigerians perceive the idea of feminism?
What I think about it is, firstly, for any person that think both ways. Some women will wake up and tell you, something. These things are generational. And it all starts from the home. How did your boy child see you as the father or as a parent treating the mom in that their age before you start giving birth to us? So these things are being passed down without even knowing that you are imbibing a culture or a belief or a system into the children in the house. Okay, it's not as if somebody is waking up to say, we want this. Things you see always happening in the home front. When you go to school, you will see it. When you walk, you will see it. In somehow you will start practicalizing it in when you get of age. So what is happening to our men right now is not because they don't understand what we are saying or that the Western world, understand it better than us. Their problem is about, a character they have been used to whilst they were growing up. So it is more of like it's difficult for them to like adapt that change, to say, okay, my wife and I can actually sit down and have a conversation without throwing blows. My wife can actually have an input, an opinion about one or two things. My wife can actually be in the political space without being, harassed and without being termed that she's, using her body. That thing, it will take time, but I'm happy that the awareness and, sensitization is helping us now. And once you talk about this thing, people that will listen, that will hear, and when you relate it down to their own children, forget the wife, forget, our generation, their generation, the people that we are fighting for are the ones yet unborn, just like some people fought for us during those eras that I talked about. So I know we are getting there. We are really getting there. It was not as bad as it used to be.
Yes.
At least people are aware that there are so many laws right now that if you are being caught, abusing a woman, even abusing a man, there are, you can be sentenced for some years imprisonment. So before it wasn't like that. You could do anything and go scot-free, even violating a girl child. So all those things are like I said, it started from the home. And one thing I know is it's very difficult for someone that is 35, 40, 45 years old to start unlearning what he is used to from age 1 to 40. It's going to take time, but we are getting there.
We are getting there, exactly. Now, some people think that feminism, or some people argue that feminism has become too radical and has lost its focus, the main focus of equality and equity, because there are always extremists when it comes to certain things. So what's your take on that?
For me, I don't see it like that, like it has lost its focus. I feel we are still on track, but why people perceive us to be all over the place is because of the invention of social media. Before, the wokeness, let me use that language, was not as it is now and then. So everybody is on his or her phone, is reading one or two, is seeing one or two. So it seems like it's now like a bell ringing in their ears. Once they wake up, there's something they were looking at. Once they go to sleep, once they're at work, topics are being generated on a daily basis. Cases of, feminism or violation or child abuse or so many things are on the news because we are all using our smartphones, our laptop. But then it wasn't like that. So it turned like it was not as if there was no noise per se in those phases or in those waves that came. It was still the same. But the thing that is propelling it right now is the fact that we have a lot of on my own, I'm a media. In my house, I'm a media. I could even see a neighbor doing something that is awful. I will start using my phone to escalate. So it's not as if we have lost our focus. It's just that we have more opportunity right now to make the people to see, to judge, and also to weigh in between. Is this good? Is this good? Is this good? So I don't think it is out of what happened before and what is happening right now.
I think the reason why people think it has lost focus is because, like I said, they are extremists.
Of course.
Now, there are some ladies that have taken it upon themselves to make it look like it's a fight. I keep using that word because they come out, like you said, social media. Now, I would like to acknowledge that social media has a very big role to play when it comes to the activism of of feminism. Pardon me. So a lot of, or rather some women who identify as feminists, when they come out on social media, it's as if instead of speaking for equity, which is what feminism was all about, they now make it, they kind of turn it around to say demeaning things about the opposite gender, and maybe, you know, throw some negative comments or some negative words and, you know, things like that. So I think that's what the that's the idea of losing its focus. Like, some people are now going out of what it is and they are now trying to
do another thing.
Yes.
Okay, I think what you're saying is in line, but I would like to liken it to this situation or to this scenario. You know, when a child is begging you for something or is asking you for something, and you keep on denying that child that privilege or whatever it is he or she is asking you for, at some point in time, the child will become rebellious towards you. It doesn't mean that the child is not, you know, understanding or however you want to put it, but constant denial of something towards a child will make the person to turn to rebel against whoever he or she is having that encounter with. And by that time, you will feel like, is it not this child? Is it not this? Is it not this? But it's because you have been refusing, you know, subjecting the person to maybe some task that he didn't even bargain for. Okay, so what is happening with the people that have come out to identify as core feminists is they are becoming tired of, we have been singing this, we have been saying this over time, and it's as if like nothing is happening. There is no, you know, immediate effect. There is no change to them. This thing, by this, somebody will say, this is 2025. This is 21st century. Should we still be talking about this? That is what is pushing them to come out and, you know what, let us fight or let us, you know, banter words. But it doesn't mean it has lost its focus. It just means that they've gotten it to that point that they are tired, okay? But with much pressure, and I think when somebody is asking you for something and, okay, I'll give you 40 or 50% of what you're asking for, you will have some succor, you will relax. But in reality, it tends like even the 50, the 40, the 20 is not even forthcoming. Yes. Okay, so it makes them to be, the pressure on the women, these people you are talking about that are extremists, it makes them to want, like, come to like bounce back. But the men need to understand that it is not a thing of fight. It's not a thing of we are strong or we want to overthrow. Like I used to tell people, the God that created two gender is not a mistake God. He knows what he's doing. We need each other to cohabitate, yes, to live, to do things. Okay, if you keep, you know, sidelining one gender and projecting one, things are going to keep going wrong.
That is true.
That is just the fact.
That is true. And speaking of sidelining one gender, because of the way, you know, feminism is now all over the place, right?
As it should.
As it should. And it's now like, you hear people say things like, oh, every time women, women also do to men too. Women also abuse men. Women also, so why are they always coming out to, you know,
talk about women,
or play the victim kind of thing? So what do you think about that?
What I think about it is this the same thing we're talking about? Feminism is not just about we women or the girl child. Feminism, like I said, is a belief that both men and women should be treated with equal rights, respect, and opportunity. Now, when feminism, you know, has to do with the boy child, we want the boy child to be able to speak up. Even the men, you see a lot of men, there are a lot of burden in their heart they cannot even explain or extract to anybody, even their wives. They will carry it because growing up, they have been taught that they are men. They have been taught that you don't cry. They have been taught you have to shoulder it. They have also been taught that you have to be a provider. Nobody said, I've never read it in the Bible where God mandated a man to provide into 100%. If he can, very beautiful, okay? But then, in the course of what we're talking about, a man should be able to like be free to express himself, to say this is what happened to me. If a boy child was molested when he was a younger person, if the boy, you know, tends to talk or even tries, he can't even do it because that room has not been given to him to be able to express himself. So our feminism is not just for the women or for the girl child. No, we are saying that we need to be treated equally. If a girl child is being violated, let she be able to speak up. The same thing with the boy child. If in a home a man is being brutalized or abused by the wife, he should be able to speak up. You don't need to die in silence. The same way women are dying recklessly, the same way men are dying. But why their own is not on the news is because they hardly speak up. So sometimes when they let me use the language, nobody will even know the cause of the death. They will just tell me, okay, it's a natural thing. But why our own is on the rise, that this awareness, we are talking about it. So once something happens to one of us, we tend to relate back, and just like they used to say, we are emotional beings, we are expressive. It's hard for you to see a woman that doesn't talk about how she feels or what burdens her. So that woman must have told ABC about what is going on in her life. So but in this course and in this job, we are saying everybody should be able to express him or herself in cases where that something that is happening to you is not ordinary. So that is not just about us or against them.
Yes, I think people need to understand that feminism does not solely focus on women. Actually,
no, it doesn't.
It's when we talk of this equality, we are looking at it for both men and women. So it's actually a win-win.
Sure.
It's actually a win-win for both genders.
It's
just that there are a lot of misunderstandings. But before we get to that, we've spoken a lot about social media and social media and feminism. So in what ways do you think social media has influenced feminism and the movement itself?
It has, in a very great way. Like I said, I don't know of any adult that doesn't have a smartphone.
Yes.
Okay, so everything that is going on right now, you can be able to see it, be able to even draw an opinion or draw a perspective about what is actually going on. Take for the case of the woman that was once that the husband threw fuel on top of her whilst an argument was occurring.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody that is on social media heard about or saw what happened, and also saw how the government stepped in to take care of that case. So social media is like, if you are a man that is abusive towards your partner, after seeing that type of video and the concluding aspect or the part of that video, it is going to tame you to a very large extent. That, of course, some people came out to say it was an impulse action. It wasn't like he thought about it. But I don't think a human being would sit down, nurse an idea and execute it. That is my belief. But because it has happened and we have all seen it, it also makes, because at a point the Commissioner for Women Affairs was interrogating the man, and the man was saying it was anger. It was anger. So it means that anger could lead you to do things that are very, very crazy. That when people hear about it, they'll be like, did you do this? So a man that is in that position, because your own is not yet out or is not yet, in that height, it would subconsciously tame you, and also tame the way you react towards your partner. Not just your partner. Some women also in their home, after seeing that video, if you are violent towards your nannies or your house, that video would culture you inwardly. Especially if you have a human conscience. So social media is playing a great role where our voices will not get to us. Like this live broadcast, some people will not see it. But once a case arises like this, virtually everybody that has a smartphone, it will fly, it will go viral. So subconsciously, you are being educated, you are being tamed, you are being told about the laws. This is what is going to happen when this happens, when this happens, when this. So if you're already doing that without nobody talking, you are on your own taking a decision on how to soft pedal. So I think social media is doing a very wonderful job.
Yes. Do you think there are negative sides to feminism? I mean, everything we say has a good side and a bad side. So do you think there is any bad side to the movement?
The bad side, it tends to work towards the individual.
Okay.
Like, for example, let me liken it to the politics. Some men are still afraid to let their spouses or maybe a sister or so venture into politics based on what they have heard or they have seen about politics, okay, about women in political positions or political space. But because of awareness too, some people are letting their women or their wives to also vie for a position, also belong to any political party. So the negative aspect of feminism has a lot to do on the person involved. We are not saying because you are aware that we should have equal rights or we should be treated with utmost respect and right and opportunity, that you should now be rebellious against your husband. You should now start showing your husband that some people do that. They throw it at their face. If you do this happen. That is you trying to, like I said, when God created us, we are all equal. But in the marriage institution, there's a hierarchy. He made it very clear that the man is the head of the home. So if you as a wife is opportune or he allows you to do certain things, you are obligated to still be responsible, to still respect him in accordance to the Bible, in accordance to God's will. Not because you are now exposed or you are now aware. You shouldn't turn your awareness into the negative aspect of it by using it to butcher the man or to even use your tongue to tongue lash the person. No. So what I'm trying to say is the negative side of feminism has a lot to do with the person, the woman or the girl child or our youth involved. Not like the whole movement has a lot of negative side.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Thank you.
And what are the biggest misconceptions about feminism? Like, can you just tell us what are those things that people misunderstand, or there are misconceptions, things that are not true, but that's what people believe about feminism?
Is people see feminism like a fight, a power tussle, that if we allow these women they are going to bundle us, they are going to overthrow us, they are going to do a lot of things, is a misconception. But then I'm not excusing our gender. Some people must have behaved in a certain way that showed that misconception, but in the entirety it is not what feminism truly represents. For example, my ambassador Makanweke, she's a married woman with kids, and recently our governor, barrister Dr. Peter Ndubisimba, gave her an appointment, a very recognizable appointment, that when you see, you'll be like, but if you know her to be her, she has worked her way both in character, in everything, to attain that height. But somebody somewhere might be at the background saying she did ABC. But you don't know, because you don't know her. People tend to say a lot of things that are not even sure of. So if this our movement is about showing power tussle and all that, we are not trying to banter words or show the men that we are more than them. God created us together for a reason, and if we cohabitate, if we do things together, both in the home, both in the workplace, both in the political space, everywhere is going to be normal, because we have a lot of things to bring to the table. The men also have a lot of things to bring to the table. So imagine the first wave where the women said, we want to vote. Is it when you are not being allowed to vote that you will now be even have the right to come out to contest or vie for a position as at that time? If you cannot vote, that means automatically you cannot even vie for any position. You cannot even represent. But women want people that would also go into power and talk about them, and also relate what burdens them, what bothers us as women to women.
So aside from the power tussle you spoke of, what other misconception do you think people have about feminism?
I also think people think we generally on trying to be rebellious, to form as a disrespect in the home sector now. If this woman, if I give this woman this opportunity, she will no longer respect me. Even in the office, as some people tend to if this woman, maybe she has even qualified to become the MD or the CEO of an organization, but because she's a woman, they will want to like, no.
Because they think she will be disrespectful.
She will think she will disrespect. They think she will be disrespectful. They also think she's going to be giving them commands,
and they
cannot take her command because she's a woman. Okay. Not because she merited that position, and not because anybody that's sitting on that position needs to be respected, needs to issue out command. But for the fact that she's a woman that is giving the command, the men tend to say we can't take command from women now. But if it's a man that is occupying that space, you will go, you will do it. So the position in question comes with respect, comes with, you know, dishing out orders. But because a woman is going to attain that position, they tend to see like, we cannot, if you give this one position, that means she has all of us now errand boy. So that is like a misconception. We are trying to say, balance it, be fair. If this position was due for a man, you are going to, even as a woman, we are going to take orders from the woman. So you are taking order from, not because I'm a woman, you are taking order from me because of the position that I occupy, not because I'm a woman.
Yes, that is actually true. So these are the two biggest misconceptions that people have now about feminism.
Yes.
And what role do you think men play in this movement, in this feminism? Do you think men, you know, contribute anything to our movement, to feminism?
They do.
In what
they
ways?
do.
In what
a
ways?
whole lot they do. Just like I was saying before, most men who have, you know, the second phase of feminism talked about the right to go to school, the right to get educated, the right for a child to decide to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, not because she's a female, she cannot. Some years back, it wasn't like that. There are some courses you cannot do. But right now, it's open. So men are really doing a great thing for our movement, you know, to support feminism. At least most men are now speaking out, even to injustice. When injustice are being, you know, peddled around them, they talk about it. For my personal example is my own husband. He was the one that purchased my form to vie for House of Assembly in just this 2023 concluded. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
He was the one that said, I want you to vie for that position. I want you to go into politics. I want you to, you know, step up. Some people called me behind the scene like, is it your husband? Did your husband allow you? And when they are even shocked that as I come out to, you know, say one or two things, he's there backing me up. He's there supporting me. He's there standing beside me. Some men say I can't allow. I can't even do it. If there's one man that said I should be the honorable first before you.
Oh wow!
But this is a man that sees beyond what an ordinary man will see and say, I want you there. I will support you. And he did from beginning to the end. So the men are really playing a vital role in supporting this movement because, like I said, they have a girl child. I mean, every man that is married, I know, there is one or two girl child in your family.
Even if you don't have
you have a female in your family. So if you don't support what we are talking about, or if you don't give, you know, educate other people, you will find out that later on, maybe when you are not even longer there, your generation will tend to suffer it. Just like if the men in those ages did not support the women, because I don't think the women just stood up and said, we want to vote, we want to go to school, and they just gave it to them on a platter. I feel there have been a backyard conversation amongst the men too, to sit down and say, yeah, this thing that these women are saying are actually true, for them to accept it, that we are exercising it right now. Yeah. So for this, our own movement, the men are also backing us, that say, okay, this thing we are saying, we are not, you know, out of equation. They're supporting us very, 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 very well, especially my governor. He has scored the highest when it comes to women inclusion in government. He has.
That's really good.
Yes.
And before we go, you know, no matter how much we talk about feminism and its importance and the good it is doing in our society, there are still people who are skeptical,
of course,
who are unsure. You know, even educated people and uneducated people are like, they have this, should I say, bias or opinion, negative opinion about it. So what would you say to them as to how or why feminism matters, particularly now in our society?
If anybody is still being skeptical or is still being biased about feminism, I will think it's coming from the ignorant aspect of it. They don't understand it. And that is why we'll keep on pushing for more awareness and more, interviews like this. And as we are doing that, we are also telling our women, because some women also have this bias.
Yes, that is a very important
yes.
point.
Some of us also have this bias that they don't understand what the movement is. So they tend to exhibit characters that project the wrong interpretation of the movement.
Yes.
So, and that's what makes the men to be afraid. So in balancing it, we have to educate more. We have to talk about it more. We have to, if it's going on air like we are doing already, talk about it. Let everybody get involved, because if it doesn't indict you today, it will indict one of you tomorrow, which is your generation.
Yes. So in your opinion, we should all be feminists?
Of course.
Like Chimamanda said, we
Yes,
should all be
everybody.
feminists. Yes.
Everybody, both male and female. And I'm happy I know some men, many they are. Even the Igwes, some of them, they've accepted, because we have gone to villages to relate one-on-one. There's something called about talking to somebody on a personal note.
Yes.
You bring it down to the person's understanding, to the person's, knowledge. The person, is this what it really means? I didn't understand it though. You will see them championing it on your behalf. And also say, taking it into their hands to bring to justice whenever an injustice is meddled against maybe a girl child or a boy child or a woman. So more awareness will help everybody, both the women to adjust themselves in behavior. It is not a fight. We are not fighting our men. We need our men. In fact, they are our kings and our lords. But we need them, and as much as they need us. So this saying that women's this thing ends in the kitchen, it was far gone in its second phase that we conquered that.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be this. And I thank God it is not the same, because if it was still the same, I don't think a lot of women will still go to school, will still be working, will still be pursuing their second or third degree, or doing very well politically. But that, because we are having results from all this, it means our men are supporting us.
Yes, exactly.
Very well.
Although we have to acknowledge that there are still areas, there are still some parts of the world and the country where, women are still not given that freedom to exercise, what most of us are enjoying right now.
It is true.
So there is still room and need for more advocacy and activism.
It's true.
You agree?
Yes, definitely. As is lacking in Nigeria, there are also other countries where it is lagging.
Yeah.
But when we talk about it more, when we advocate about it more, everybody, if it doesn't happen now, it happen later.
Yes, if it doesn't happen in our generation,
it will happen later.
The next generation.
So this wave, it was like a transportation.
Yes.
It transported from the 800 to now.
We are in the fourth
so
wave.
We are in the fourth wave.
So maybe very soon.
Very soon, there'll be a fifth wave. So it was going to definitely happen someday, somehow.
Someday, somehow. Wow! Thank you so much for joining me in this
You're
conversation.
Welcome.
I've really enjoyed myself, and I hope you all have enjoyed yourselves. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, so we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, Gender Perspective continues right after. you enjoyed the conversation with our guest, Mrs. Chizoba, today. And feminism is a word that sparks a lot of different reactions, from passionate support to outright dismissal. And the movement for gender equality has undergone a dramatic transformation over the decades. But what does that evolution actually mean to people today? So we took to the streets to find out and hear what they feel about it. So let's take a listen.
Well, actually, it means a lot. I say it means a lot to me because that has to do with women. They are very important in the society. People refer them to be the weaker vessel. But, well, I don't really see them that way, to be weaker vessel. I know they are very strong. They contribute a lot in the society, in the home. In your home, if you don't have a woman, definitely you're lacking something. You're lacking something. So I can categorically say that women are very important in our society. I am a man, and talking about exactly what I know about feminism, if you want, maybe like the younger ones, they love beautiful things. They love beautiful things. They love being loved, being taken care of. But of course, maybe the adults, if you're an adult, maybe not like the adolescents anyway, they know a lot of things is ahead of them. But if you want to talk about the lifestyle or maybe the health about the women, I think it's another aspect of it where you discover that they face tough time, unlike the male, like the monthly pain, which most women always cry. It sometimes stops them from a lot of things, like some social activities. I've had a cause to, console a lady who was maybe she was stopped from swimming. A particular picnic was going on. It happened that she was in her cycle. She was not really given that chance to participate. That's one of the challenges. So, and more, but in all, they are a very strong being, so to say. In this aspect, I am an African, a Nigerian. When I flash back to those days when women, they know their place. Men equally know their place. Even in the Bible will make you know that women have their place, men have their place. But the problem today in the society is that the women are now longing to be exactly where the men are. I am not totally in support of this feminine movement. But I am not saying they shouldn't be liberated. I am not saying they shouldn't be given that opportunity to go for their career. That is not my stand. But when you talk about the feminine taking the position of the man, trying, for instance, to be the president of Nigeria. Yes, I'm not saying if a woman is given the president of Nigeria, it's a bad one. But of course, it's like trying to dispossess what should have been for the man. I don't want people to get me wrong, but the truth is that if you're a woman, you know your place. You don't try to struggle the place of the man. That is my stand. And we are Africans, but the problem we have is that we try to imitate the Western culture. We have our culture here in Africa. We must respect it.
I've been hearing about feminism, but what I understand by feminism is when women are clamoring for gender equality and equity. Women want everything to be shared equally. That's the main thing. That's what I understood by feminism. To me, it's a good thing, and the other way is also a bad thing. Let me start with the negative aspect of it. That when you give a woman a post, maybe at the end of the day, that ego, the whole thing, she will start misbehaving, taking laws into her hands, directing people. Some will be autocratic, some will be misbehaving, taking laws into their hands. That's why a lot of men find it difficult to accept or to give a woman a post.
Welcome back to Gender Perspectives on Signature TV. Well, throughout this evolution, feminism has grappled with internal debates and criticisms, and the question of inclusivity, the tension between individual liberation and collective action, and the ongoing struggle to dismantle systemic inequalities continue to shape the feminist landscape. Now, the evolution of feminism is an ongoing process of adaptation, reflection, and action, and it is a testament to the enduring power of women's voices and the unwavering support, the unwavering pursuit for a more just and equitable world. Thank you so much for staying with us. Make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. We are live 24/7 on YouTube. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Till next week, goodbye.